Welcome to Never Too Serious with Scott and Dave. I'm Scott.
And I'm Dave.
Dave, I was thinking about this whole Russia-Ukrainian war that's going on.
What? There's a war going on?
Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah.
So Putin's putting the pedal to the metal, huh?
Yeah. Well, it just kind of made me think about, like old shows, like the Red Dawn, movies we talked about last, a couple podcasts ago, maybe. Yeah. And, what it would be like if war came to us, or if we were in Ukraine, or, having to deal with that sort of thing. And it just seems like
it'd be terror.
Yeah, it'd be terror. Because people are hiding in subways. There's shelling going on. There's, a loss of electricity and other services. And,
right.
So I thought it would be kind of an odd thing to live through.
Very. I watched years ago, I'm going to get this wrong, I'm sure, but 2016-ish, Ukraine was going through some stuff then too. And there was fighting in the streets. And
was that with the Crimea thing?
It had to do with like NATO and stuff, I think.
I wonder if that's... I'm not so up on it.
Well, it was... I am a person that it's not very healthy for me, but I'm a what if kind of a person. Like, well, what if that happens to me? And I should prepare. And I'm watching it in terror because I think I'm watching what's going on in our city. It's just pretend it's my city. And there's these group of friends, you're talking like Red Dawn kind of a thing.
Yeah. And
they're out in the city by a telephone pole and they're hiding behind like garbage can freaking lids and they're wearing helmets, motorcycle helmets. And then they're huddled up and there's shots being fired. And then one guy got shot and he falls backwards and their quote friends are turn around and or family are now, having to, take care of the person, their friend that just got shot and probably dying right there. And that's real life. I know we're sitting there watching on TV and reality seems like, well, it's on TV. It's hard to take it in sometimes, but when you sit there and try to put it yourself in their shoes, it's terrifying. And mind you, I'm not even there. I'm just thinking about it.
Yeah, you're only thinking about it.
Think of what they're going through. And I think about this last few years, we've had a lot of things happen in our country that was kind of getting me concerned about those things can happen. People, rioting and attacking people in cars just for driving. They don't even know if they're on your side or not, and they're attacking you because they just think you're an enemy. And you have to start thinking about, what am I going to do to defend myself, prepare for this to happen to me? People out here starting fires, burning places down. And, well, what are you going to do? You're going to have to do, I had to go buy some extra hoses and sprinklers and keep them running out front in case somebody throws a freaking Molotov cocktail out my front yard.
Yeah, I was thinking, was it the summer before last?
Yeah. That
we had all these fires that going on in Oregon.
People were taking pop shots at propane tanks, so I had to move my trailer in front of a propane tank because you can see it from the street.
Yeah.
Stupid things like that. But what if? And it takes up a lot of my time. And so I'm a relatively prepared human being because of that. And God forbid I would ever have to use any of the stuff I have ever put, in place. But, you never know. I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yeah. We were talking about the numbers in Russia and Ukraine. And of course we don't know how accurate this stuff is because
it's extreme. If you got it off the internet, dude, it is dead accurate.
Because I don't really know. Some of the estimates, it says from the Ukrainian soldiers that have died, right around 2,800. It's probably a little bit higher now that, by the time this thing airs.
And Russia's lost 2.
And then, Russia's lost 2 people.
2 people. But they're only wounded.
And they didn't speak Russian, so. Russia, the estimate is 9.2, or why do they put 9.2 thousand? We'll just say it's 9,200.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing about that is there's so much, I hate to use the word because, it's overused, but disinformation about it. And it makes sense, though, because, during wars, there's a lot of fake stuff going on.
Yeah.
People used to make fake
propaganda.
Fake tanks just to fool the enemy thinking there's more tanks, and it's just cardboard.
Yeah.
And it makes sense why Russia would say, because I only heard that there was only a few hundred.
Mm-hmm.
And
Russia was saying it was like 900 versus 9,000.
We lost Jimmy and John. That's it. I can show you who they are. But that's it makes sense. Might put more fear into the other side, and the other side might say that there was a lot more that they killed to put fear in the other side. But so I could understand why you could say, well, I'm not too sure if this is accurate, because there's reason for it to not be accurate.
Yeah. Well, they also have listed here 939 armored vehicles and 251 tanks lost.
Well, that's good.
That seems pretty significant. And how do you hide those numbers? I mean, sure, you can exaggerate stuff without people, verifying, but that seems pretty high. 900 armored vehicles? That seems really high.
Well, I know we mentioned it a little bit before, but if it was the Russia stuff, that makes sense, because their stuff isn't very good quality. You start it up, it'll probably blow up, a third of the time.
I just find it interesting how dated their tactics and their technology seems to be. Like, I always thought Russia was in competition with the United States in how, let's say, high tech their stuff is, how accurate they can fire a missile, or how their defenses are, or their tanks, or their radar, or whatever other sensors that they might have. But I'm based on this. I mean, if the U.S., not that the U.S. would probably do something like this, but if the U.S. did, well, I can't say that. I mean, think about Iraq, right? When we went in there, it was very precise. Afghanistan, very precise. Our missiles, we can shoot through a window and hit the target behind, a wall.
Right. Yeah.
And we have the technology to really get, for instance, if we hit civilians, it's generally not because it was an accident that the rocket hit that location. It was because the intelligence was bad, and what was at that location wasn't what we expected.
Or they just calculated, we could. It was
very. Yeah, but we're very precise. A lot of things are planned out. I don't think that. Well, think about this. The United States would not be pleased with 9,000 soldiers dead.
No, that's you'd
think
that's a huge casualties for us.
I can't remember. In the 20 years of Afghanistan, I don't know if we were over 5,000 soldiers. Right. Were we?
I thought it.
I'd have to.
I know 1,000. If I think about 1,000 people that's a lot. But
in 20 years,
in a war, it was very low. I don't think it was, considering it's a war. I don't think it was that high. Yeah. But I can't say off the top of my head what it was. There was a lot of wounded for sure. But deaths was not. Seems like that they're getting hit pretty heavy and hard right now.
Yeah. Well, in Ukraine, you think about it, they're getting invaded. So it's not like they're going someplace else. They've got their own defenses, and they're kind of hunkered in. And it sounds like they were handing out weapons and stuff to their population. Yep. United States, we already have ours. If you think about, if we were to be invaded in some way, there's a pretty good chance that we wouldn't have to receive weapons from the government because we have so many.
It would almost make me wonder, the government would be like, you guys need to turn in your ammo. We're running low on ammo. We need to turn them in. We are going to confiscate 30% of all your boys' ammo. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we might have to donate to the government to survive.
Suckers.
No, they're pretty well armed.
They get the majority of all the ammo is made, so we get the leftovers.
Yeah, but it does make me wonder, though, what kind of stuff we would have to deal with. I've been watching. Well, I've always been fascinated with survival shows, and I've been watching Naked and Afraid a lot lately. Yep. Maybe this is where.
I like watching Alone. That's a great one too.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked how they make it happen.
I liked Bear Grylls too. Of course the style of how they edit the shows and how they put stuff together. Sometimes that is irritating to me. I like to see more of the survival stuff. I don't like with Naked and Afraid. Sometimes there's just too much of the personality conflicts, And that kind of irritates
There's drama in there.
Yeah, I don't like that part.
That's what I liked about Alone is, well, you're alone. And the conflicts come when they have their own personality conflicts within themselves. So it's quite interesting that way. But there's also there's no people holding cameras either. They're doing it on their own. And it's pretty raw. I like Bear Grylls a lot, but it's just a bummer. How about this? Just don't look at any behind the scenes thing. It'll
Is that right? It'll ruin it?
Magic. Yeah. To see how brutal he's really having it. Yeah, not so much.
Yeah. but he talks the talk during the show.
And he shares a lot of information that you could do. So, Bear Grylls will probably tell you every other weekend, sit there and have a cup of piss. Just get prepared. You don't know if you're going to be running out of water. It can get you through. And then like when it was the first time I seen anybody really do it, when he was like going across the desert and he takes his shirt off and he whizzes on it and then wraps around his head. I'm like, well, I guess in extreme circumstances, good to know.
That's so funny. I do remember that.
Yeah, I was like, well.
It's so gross.
Yeah, I know.
There was another one where it was two guys, and I know it irritates you for me like to say, but one of the guys reminded me of you.
Damn it, Scott!
But it's because he was kind of a big guy.
He was fat.
Walk. No, he definitely wasn't. But he'd walk around, barefoot, like all the time.
What you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of that show. But there's two guys. One was like an Army Ranger, and then the other one is kind of like I want to say like a hippie survivalist.
Yeah.
Both have their different styles, and I enjoyed watching that show because there was more like survival type stuff, even though they had different styles of how they would do it.
Completely, yeah.
But that's one of the things about the Naked and Afraid that I think I would struggle with is the walking around without anything covering your feet.
Yeah.
My feet don't see the sun very often.
Yeah, that would be the first thing I ever do, and it blows me away that a lot of those shows, because I've watched outside of the latest one, probably I've watched all of them, and it's like, guys, take care of your feet first. My gosh, and then your whacker. Last thing you need that is get hung up on a twig or a branch or get some stinging nettles on there.
I was watching. It's not like an outtakes, but it's like a funny compilation video that they put out, and one of them, I guess he got like a bug bite or something down in the nether regions, and they were making fun, like his partner, she was making fun of him being the I think it was a double-headed penis or something.
I remember that one. Yep.
but the way they were talking was like, this is no big deal. You got to be separate from civilization to have those conversations, right?
Right.
I mean, have that kind of conversation with my wife.
It's like, oh man, there's something jacked up there. Do you mind taking a look?
No, I'm not going to take a look.
That sounds like a you problem, buddy.
Yeah. You go deal with that on your own.
Yep.
But so thinking about like the war-torn areas, I wonder like the survival becomes different, because if you're like a city dweller and you've lost electricity, you've lost generally services that you would normally expect in a city, what do you do? Do you just sit there? Or do you exit? You try and head for the hills?
Well, see, all right, so that's funny you mention that. So I know a bunch of people that are, die hard, bug out people. And every one of them says, I'm heading for the hills. Well, guess what? Everybody's going to be up the freaking hills.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what's going to happen? People are going to own those hills, and they're going to be off on our own. They're not going to say, oh, good to see you. Good. Let's go, guys. No, they're going to be holding down their own area.
Conflict on the hill.
Right. Absolutely. And guess what? And that's not just an American thing. It's a human thing. People are going to take your shit.
Yeah.
Because they don't have enough shit. And so that's plan like C for me. If you have, that's like, you have to be, for me, it's not like if shit hits the fan, I'm going to go there. It's, if I have to get pushed out of my area, then I'll have to have a path there, or something similar to that, and not just, the first 25% of the hills. I mean, you just go.
Yeah.
You go until you pass the freaking mountain goats, kick them off a cliff, and you keep going.
Yeah.
And because you got to get away from people in general, because, there's some truth to it, but like The Walking Dead, it's kind of a good-ish example because it's the end of the world situation. But when they find they have enough enemies out there, all those millions of Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do is they find another human being, which is rare, and they fight and kill each other and take their shit.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to make sure you're cautious and careful about that. And so,
isn't that something?
Yeah,
because
there's some truth to that.
I think there is truth to that. I mean, even today, there's tribalism. Yeah. Depending on. I mean,
have you seen when somebody took somebody's parking spot? They'll lose their shit.
I want to believe that in the United States we would have a unified approach to an invader, but I'm also thinking we still have a lot of people who are different in political views that are so divided that I want to say that there would be a lot of people that would just give in and just to kind of save their own, themselves, that they would give in to the enemy
and then point fingers.
And
at
then
this guy
and then point fingers. I think of like Nazi Germany, because I think that was a big one. The Nazis were brutal, and they'd go through and. They were mainly looking for, Jews and other people who didn't fit their ideology. And I think others were turning them in.
Yeah. There's people that helped out the cause that shouldn't have made it worse than it really needed to be, for sure.
Yeah. And I just kind of wonder if the United States has those type of people.
Of course. I mean, we've seen people that are just about the mask situation.
Mm-hmm.
These are your friends and family, and they're like,
sure.
"Oh, you guys are having Christmas," and then somebody else that's against it will freaking say, "There's a bunch of people over there having Christmas." I mean, that happens.
Well, it happened with us at Thanksgiving. Kate Brown, our governor, asked people to turn the neighbors in,
and there's people that are glad to help out.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I wonder. I'm guessing. I'm just guessing there would be pockets of population that would bond together and support each other. I'm thinking, the most of Texas would probably do that.
I think there's a lot to that. That's why I think it's good that close friends and family, and I mean they have to be closer than just. Hey, I have a friend and my mom and her husband are going to come over if something happens too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what are they going to bring to the situation?
Yeah.
No. And the last thing I need is somebody that's going to be interfering with me, trying to do what I plan for me and my family. And then I don't need to be hearing when I'm like, hey, I don't think you should be, who the, get them out. Because, I don't jump to conclusions. I don't do knee-jerk reactions.
Mm-hmm.
So if I ever get put in a position to have to react, it's because it's a must.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I'm like, I don't know, some adrenaline junkie just looking for problems, know. But, so I'll ask you, so for me, that's secondary. What about you? Are you a head for the hills person or?
No. So depending on what's happening, I really think that my safety is in my house and potentially my neighborhood, depending on where the danger is at. I think, if just thinking in terms of like Russia and Ukraine, if Russia's moving through your town, and they're just moving through to get to someplace else, I don't see a whole lot of reason to bail and go someplace else. Now, if they stop in your town and they settle, and this is where they're going to set up camp, yeah, I'm going to bail. I'm going to be going someplace where I can find some safety and security.
Sure.
But I think ultimately, your home is generally the place where you are the most safe. You can stockpile food and water and have a warm place to stay and do some basic survival and go out. And heck, if, like you were saying, if you've got friends, family, neighbors that you trust, then there are power in numbers.
Yeah.
But I'm not a head for the hills kind of person, mainly because what you were saying is that a lot of people want to do that. And I don't think that
go
is
there without a plan.
Yeah. Well, and you go there somewhat as a minimalist. Think about all the supplies and things that you have at your home versus what you could potentially carry someplace else. And especially if there's a whole bunch of people out there, with, we're in the United States, there's a lot of armed people. So it's a lot easier to defend to defend your space than to go out and move through someone else's.
Yeah. And because the added danger is not just of what you're fleeing from. Now you have other people that don't trust you.
Yeah.
Now, because you don't know if this person is. I know some people that has very little, and their goal is to be able to take from some other people to get them prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not a very good plan,
Yeah.
Because
Mm-hmm. I want to take a quick break. I kind of want to talk about what kind of survival stuff would you want to have in these kind of situations?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. We'll be right back. Dave and I appreciate you listening to the show. Please take a moment and write a review on Apple Podcast or podchaser.com. And since Spotify doesn't currently have reviews, simply telling your friends about the show would be great too. Also, you can always reach out to us at our website, nevertooserious.com, or via our socials at the NTS Podcast. And seriously, from the bottom of our hearts, thanks again for listening to the show. All right, we are back. So we're talking a little bit about, what would happen if this stuff came to our place, all this war or whatever, or if we were in those places.
Right.
I'm kind of curious from your perspective, what kind of stuff would you want to have to be prepared for, let's just say you get stuck in your home.
So this might sound a little foolish. First is some type of firearms.
Uh-huh.
And if none of that, at least get a bow and arrow or something.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of reason for that. But then after you have bow and arrow or a firearm, then I think that you should definitely get water and get some food.
So non-perishable.
Yeah, like example is we went and got some of that Patriot Supply.
Uh-huh.
I'll give them a plug. They're great.
Yeah.
And we have some stuff that lasts like 25 years. And we have, I think it's maybe 3 months supply for each of us for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have, let's just say, canned foods and pastas and stuff that could be making almost everyday food, simple. And we have to make up about another year's worth.
Mm-hmm. So, is this mostly like freeze-dried type stuff? Like just add water?
The Patriot Supply stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Absolutely, yeah.
So it's all dry.
Right. and then like we went out and got a bunch of like pasta sauce and pasta.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's simple enough to boil some noodles and pour a little sauce in, and then guess what? Go get a bunch of top ramen. We're talking about just surviving. We're not talking about, I really don't want to lose, how I live today. No, it's you might have to make top ramen, and all three of you might have to eat it.
Mm-hmm. And that's so inexpensive. And believe it or not, there's a big carb count in ramen. Yeah. I was surprised when I was trying to do low carb. I had to get rid of my ramen. I didn't get rid of it. It's still in the cupboard, but I had to eat less of it.
So example is we have probably about 3 months supply of ramen for each of us too. Mm-hmm. And then we have enough of, canned foods with fruits and vegetables and stuff like corned beef hash and stew and chili, that kind of stuff. That lasts quite a long time. Mm-hmm. And that's also stuff that you can. What we do is it's also can be everyday foods. So when we buy some stuff, we'll go use that up and replace it, cycle it, so it isn't going to go sit there and get completely bad.
So you do actually have a plan in place for cycling through.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
I know we just got a rack together, and that makes it a lot easier to keep track of all that stuff. But absolutely food and water, and then you have to figure out, well, how are you going to be able to cook it? I guess I should say you should probably figure that out before you go buy what you're going to store. Mm-hmm. Because if you aren't around water supply, luckily I have a creek and pond. Mm-hmm. Looks pretty gross, but you could purify it.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing is tons of ways to purify water.
Yeah.
From tablets to filters to boiling it.
We also live in the Northwest, and there's a lot of rain.
A lot of rain. Yep. And so that's why there's a lot of foods that I go with that you just, water. And have your fire. I have so many different ways you could build fire. Mm-hmm. Get your matches, get your lighters, and you can get some flint too.
Yeah.
A bunch of that stuff. But to hunker down, though, and little things like generators.
Mm-hmm.
And
it might depend on how long you expect to be there. I mean, because fuel becomes an issue. I know, like a lot of city. I don't know about like Ukraine and what their status is for. I know they've been having intermittent, electrical loss.
Right.
I don't know, if natural gas is something that's piped in through their city. I'm not sure how modern everything is over there, but I know at least here, Portland area, it's, we've got gas to houses. We have electricity, we have internet, we have all these different services that come in, sewer. What happens when that stuff goes away? And then how long are we expecting to go through it?
Right.
I mean, Ukraine could be, who knows? Who knows how long? I mean, it could be years of guerrilla warfare. I don't even know.
Yep. We have yet to really. This is the very beginning of it.
Yeah, but like for us, it would be that thought that you had about, well, we're not going to try and maintain a certain luxury
status.
Because you start to think about, well, okay, now what time of year is it? Is the weather is it super cold? Heating your home is pretty difficult. Trying to cool it down, that's probably unnecessary.
Right.
The amount of energy that you would use to cool your home, you'd probably want to reserve that and not have to worry about it.
That's why, depending on what people's plans are, because hitting further hills isn't necessarily a bad one as long as you're there first. And but when you're let's say if you're at home now and stuff is hitting the fan, and you need to utilize what you have. Example, if you have food in the freezer, and you have the idea that you're going to be losing your electricity, start utilizing that.
Yeah.
And then after you lose your electricity, then you go to your next step, which you should always have backups to backups to backups. That's me. Unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know how you want to say that. And then you could have your generators to help keep the freezers going longer or to help you cook. And and then once that runs out, then you have your campfire boiling stuff. And then when that runs out, you have your last of the last, you
start burning your furniture.
I want to just keep saying they're Patriot Supply because that's one of the places that we get our stuff, but our 25-year freeze-dried, there we go, freeze-dried foods, and that's a lot more mobile and stuff. But, you certainly don't want to go, oh man, the crap is hitting the fan, go hit up the freeze-dried stuff, and then you eat that, and like, oh.
Yeah, there goes a bunch of wasted.
So food and water, you definitely, I mean, everybody could use, whatever you plan for, you're always going to wish you had more, no matter what. And, we have a handful of water that we have stored up, knowing that we live where we live, so I don't think it's going to be impossible to get. But, we still have to be reserved, even if you have it, and but that's food and water and how to cook it. That's it.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. So one of the things that freaked me out, that I didn't think about really much at all until I was watching some of these prepper shows, and that is medication. Thinking about if you've got a medical condition that requires medication, my brother, he died with diabetic complications, and getting insulin and those type of things, really, really important for a select portion of the population.
Yeah. And then think about this, because I know this guy who has really bad diabetes as well, but he has another problem. He has to make his medication stay cool. You got to be able to know what to do. Dig a hole, put it in, keeps it colder, because his medication will go bad if it's not chilled. So there are so many things and variables that you have to consider. And mind you, like I said, with getting a gun, self-defense, that's why I said, number one, you get self-defense for sure. Yeah. I think is smart, but also with a gun or a bow. I'm just trying to, for people that may not want to have a gun.
Yeah.
But now you can also hunt some stuff too.
Yeah.
And
depending on your location.
Right.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about the death toll in these, like Ukraine, where the death toll isn't really that high. But I think I heard a report that they were looking at potentially upwards of 2 million people as refugees fleeing the country.
Yep. Sean Penn. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Wasn't he in there filming something? And then
I don't know. He's a dumbass.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just have to make fun because we have to hear about Sean Penn. You know, he has the money and the ability to do whatever. All I care about is the people there. You know, when I said, I don't know, the last show, and I feel bad saying it because I'm like, I really don't care about Ukraine's situation. They're a corrupt,
corrupt country.
And I know that they were trying to change that around with the new president and stuff. But when I get upset, even about my own country, it's about who's running them. You know, it's not the people. The people, we're just here trying to live and try to be happy and survive and make family and memories.
Yeah, the common person.
Right. And I feel my heart pours out to them. So I hate, sometimes I walk away thinking, gosh, was I callous? Because I'm a rather emotional person, and sometimes it doesn't come out
like you care,
right? Because I talk generalized.
You're a big old teddy bear.
Stop.
I think that in general though, the population, the general people, not the leaders, not like the Russian oligarchs, the elite or whatever. It's
because when I say screw China or screw North Korea, I don't mean the citizens of the country. It's just, so, and I think most people get that, but sometimes I think, gosh, I hope I state that because we're 98% of us on this planet are good humans trying to do the best we can to make good out of stuff.
Do you think Canada or Mexico would accept our refugees?
Say what?
Like, if we were in this situation, do you think Canada and Mexico would be there to support the mass exodus from
these days? I would have to say I don't know about Mexico. I don't think Canada has it in them.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this again. I know I just said what I said. Not the people, but like Justin Trudeau. I don't think he has the nads to help him protect because he doesn't want to come and get stomped on either. Because he's
he doesn't seem like the fearless.
He, like Biden, is making their country weak.
Yeah.
Biden and even Obama had made our country weak. And believe it or not, I think Mexico's a bunch of badasses down there, and I think they're probably like, "Come on over, man. We got your back." Yeah, to a point.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, think about it. Like, I don't know how accepting they would of us coming into it. I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah. But they have some power down there too. Not necessarily the military, but in the drug lords. They've got
I mean, at least they wouldn't call us hosers, like the Canadians would.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I do. I agree, though. I don't think that Canada's got the leadership that's really tough.
Yeah.
I don't know how big their military and stuff are. I really think that Mexico and Canada are really well protected because of the United States.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the other way around.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but if we start getting destroyed, I don't see our neighbors going, "Everybody in, let's stop this, let's put out this fire." Or they're going, "Hey, man, we can get something out of this." Because I just feel like, that most of the people out there, countries out there that are friends with us are friends because we're friends with benefits, Like, they're like the friend that hopes that one fails, But I'm not going to push him over the edge. But if he goes over the edge, hey, all right. I don't know. I'd like to not think that. I know we have some real true allies, but it seems like we've been crapping on them lately too. So
yeah, well, I think the timing of all of this stuff is interesting. The potential for Taiwan to get invaded, I think, is pretty high. I'm not sure about some of the other, like North Korea and some of these other places that are, test us a little bit. I'm not sure what might happen in those particular areas, but just with Russia moving in, they're not necessarily an ally. I mean, we have a decent relationship with Ukraine, but I'm not sure if the timing is right for other people to start, stepping out and testing, the resolve of the United States or its allies. I'm hoping it's not.
I just don't understand. I can't understand. I can, but so I still have to say it this way. I don't understand why you can't just let the neighbors be themselves even put past conflict and issues aside. I mean,
yeah, I don't think that's ever.
Can we all just get along?
Come on, you hippie.
that was. I thought his name was Rodney, the guy back in the L.A. and for the L.A. riots that got beat up.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember his last name now, but I thought that was his quote was, "Can't we all just get along?"
Yeah, yeah. But I just think it's in human nature. I think
it is.
It's no matter even if we colonize Mars or some moon of some other planet, humans, this is the behavior. I mean, I don't see, well, certainly not within the next several thousand years, our tendencies to change. We've had a pretty good run at peace for a while.
Yeah, we're not good at it.
And and there's this sort of westernized view of war but to be honest, I don't think that it changes. There's just too many people who have this, once they get into a position of power, they flex their muscles and someone's going to have to give in.
Yeah.
Because that's just the nature of humans.
You could get 10 families that grew up and love each other, and then you go, you know what, let's just all get away. Let's go buy freaking 1,000 acres and just all move and be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you do, it's going to be like,
yeah,
they have 500 more square foot in-ground pool. Those guys are dicks.
Yeah. Well, maybe we could find a person like a David Koresh, and no, that's probably not a good idea.
Well, minus I don't know, I can't remember if this was true or not, but I was going to say minus the little kids thing. I don't remember if that was true. But or marrying all the gals.
Yeah, marrying all the gals.
Well, wait a minute now. It wasn't a bad thing. I think it's not a bad idea to live like a village.
Yeah.
You know? And sometimes when they get too big, it's harder to control and harder to maintain. But to live like a village and keep a lot of people more accountable. And I it was like in a third or fourth world country. I don't even know, but I'm shocked that there was even a video camera to take video. But there was somebody that was I think they were like molesting a kid or something. And as a village, they all got together to reprimand this person in a very bad way.
Oh,
but it kind of looks like it kept things, because it's not such strong numbers or strong high numbers, that it kept things. Everybody knows each other. It's a little bit more respected.
There's a difference in a small group or a small town, maybe even a state, from the United States, to have a certain culture within it where people respect each other and support each other.
It's hard to do something to people that aren't strangers,
Yeah, well,
to a point.
And I really think about like the Native Americans and, how much war took place just between tribes.
Oh, yeah.
Because they had different cultural values. They had different territory that, they tried to lay claim to for hunting or whatever. And then, of course, the Europeans or, the early Americans came over and started pressing, and there's always going to be some other group that's going to want to take over or whatever.
It's a cycle. It literally is. And it's just I was watching Vikings with my wife. I'm like, man, this isn't painting the Vikings in a good light at all.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Well, and they sit around in this beautiful land and doing all this stuff, and they go, hey, let's go over to this place and just take all their shit and kill and rape them all. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then they come back home, and guess what? They even go over to their neighbor. Hey, neighbor, how's it going? Next week, I want to go kick the shit out of that guy. Like, you can't, in any culture, in human, in our existence, is you can't be content. You either want what somebody else has, and or you just don't like them for one reason or another. I mean, you just can't.
Think of it in terms of the United States and how unique the United States is with the, Bill of Rights, Constitution. Think about the culture that was formulated by the founding fathers, where there was, liberty, freedom, individualism. There were pieces there that they could see would be part of a strong future. But you can see now, 2022, how divided the population is, and some of those original founding values have faded.
Sure.
And in some cases, people don't even understand what those things are. They don't even think about what those things are and how important they are for prosperity, future generations.
Right. I mean, that's why you tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's a more diverse country on this planet. I mean, we have
I totally agree with you.
I think almost any walk of life on this planet, there's somebody here representing it, living in our country. And I think that's an amazing thing. And I think because of our rights and what our forefathers put forth, made that a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we all take it for granted now. Now we talk shit about the differences, not appreciating their differences.
We need more Aborigines, I think.
And I agree with that.
Yeah.
But I'm not talking about their color. That's just I'm talking about what they bring, their culture that
absolutely.
they bring to the table.
I mean, I'm just trying to think across the world. The United States really is a melting pot of so many different cultures, and I don't know of any Aboriginal cultures in the United States.
Yeah, I don't know I'm sure there's some Aborigines here and there, but they're not living like,
Yeah, I'm not sure that there's that they don't bring that culture.
Yeah.
Maybe because that culture needs to stay in Australia.
What makes them.
Because that's what they're rooted in.
Yeah, where they're going to be like, get a car, or TV or, that's, I mean, they're.
Yeah, I mean, in some cases, it's still very primitive.
If they added that to their lives, I think it would just destroy it.
I mean, not that I know a lot about that culture or anything. I mean, because in Australia, there's a lot of, blended cultures.
Mm-hmm.
But then, for us, it's like you would expect to see some parts of that because we have a lot of different diversity in culture, but I don't see that one piece.
No, I don't.
And I'm trying to think because we have a lot of Aussies that move to the United States and stick around.
Yeah. And we have a bunch of Indian, and so you see their culture wearing what they wear with their little red dots, and then you have because I don't know the cultures very much because frankly that's their gig, and I don't judge them for it, so I don't pay a lot of attention to it. But so I don't know but people that wear their
like the turbans,
and and I think that's freaking great. I remember this is what I used to ride Max a lot when I was younger, but there was some.
That's a local Portland train.
Yeah. Sorry, light rail, and I was going downtown, and there's this guy kind of dressed up like what I would picture Jesus, dressed up in like a robe, and I didn't see a whole lot of Iranian or Middle Eastern people. I'm just guessing. I don't know where he was from, but I went. He had the coolest freaking sandals I've ever seen, and they have to be like from his country.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, we need more culture. I was intrigued by his freaking sandals. I mean, I'm like, we're going to get a pair of those, buddy.
Yeah.
You can't.
But think about all the different culture that does come to the United States. The one thing that really is moving away, and that is the original reason for people to come here were some of those founding things about freedom, liberty, freedom of expression and religion and these other things. That has to be a value that everyone shares, because if they don't, we end up becoming those other countries within our country.
A lot of people come here to take. They don't come here because it's the life that they can't live somewhere else. A lot of people flee, death, and because they're hated for who they are, and they could come here and live free and have a family and have love. Now it seems like if anybody's jumping over here and running over here, it's because they want to take some free shit that our country's handing out. It seems like, and they're not coming for the right reasons. I mean, there's a lot of like the Asian cultures. They've came here, and some of them, flee. Risking their lives to get here because they want to be free. Nobody wants to live under a heavy hand. And, then they get here and they're like, why are you guys voting in these heavy hands? We came here because of that.
Yeah, to get away from those.
And this is people from Venezuela that come here and they're like pulling their hair out. Like, what are you guys doing? You guys want socialism? Are you nuts? I mean... those are the people that really see it. A lot of us, we're just sitting here just enjoying too much to think that something bad could happen, or even if it gets bad, it's not going to affect me, or it can't get that bad. We can handle if gas gets $4. Well, what do you mean it's $5?
Yeah.
We could do that too. What if it's $8? What are you going to do when it costs you $1,000 a month to drive to work now? I mean, I'm just saying.
I saw gas is running through Portland at dang near $5 a gallon. The premium was close to $5 a gallon.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yep.
And
literally, was it?
And it's gonna get worse too.
Why wouldn't it?
Well, because Russia. Evidently, we've been buying oil from Russia over 2 million barrels a day or something ridiculous.
Yeah. Guess where all the titanium's coming from?
Yeah.
I mean, and there's sanctions getting put on them that it's going to affect a lot of our companies here. All these prices. If you think everything that we've gone through from COVID to these wars and issues on the other side of the world, they affect us.
Yeah.
Why? Because we aren't self-sustaining.
Yeah.
When we are self-sustaining, we sit there, point and laugh.
Yeah. Think about 3 years ago when we were exporting oil.
Yep.
We were self-sustained. Who would have thought that the United States would have been, self-sustained in that particular area?
Shit. What's that guy's name? Obama. Yeah. When he laughed at Trump. When he's like, what is he going to do? Keep jobs in here? Because Trump wanted to make us self-sustaining. Make us not to be a weirdo, but great again, because we were at one point. And he goes, what are you going to do? Wave a magical wand? And guess what he did? He didn't have to wave a wand. He just had to want it.
Yeah.
These other people don't want it. They're just in it for themselves. And there's no doubt in my mind that Trump was not in it for himself. He lost more than he ever gained being the president.
Well, we had a lot of manufacturing in the United States. We had a lot of oil production, and we were pushing towards more oil production by drilling on federal lands.
And that terrible graph you like to pull out
pipeline.
Once in a while.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't trickling as fast. It was moving.
Yeah.
You can't stop that.
Well, unfortunately, that the last push out of office that Trump had was that big old COVID relief. And that jacked us up pretty high in a short period of time. And then Biden came in and jacked it up even higher. And now we're over 30 trillion in the hole, which makes us vulnerable. I think it makes us vulnerable.
Sure, absolutely. So back to stuff to get prepared for all this craziness. We just talked about all the craziness that's going on.
Yeah.
And, outside of your food and your water and how to cook it and, how to survive, because you need, like when you talk about the shows we watch, you need fire. You need, get a sharp knife. You need fire, food, and water. You can
shelter too.
Shelter's ginormous, yeah. And but I have to say it. I'm not embarrassed by it, but I'm not just trying to be. I am a gun guy, but I'm not just trying to push my own beliefs. But man, you're in America. Get yourself 1 to 5 guns. You need to get a pistol. You need to get a rifle that you can hunt with. You need to get a shotgun that you can hunt with. And you can protect yourself with all these things. And you also need to get a gun that you could defend yourself with. And then get lots of ammo. I'm telling you, we were looking, I'm a guy that wants to be prepared, and I like to have ammo and stock and stuff. And it was getting very scarce when it came to ammo. And, 1,000 rounds of 9mm that used to be like $189, whereas now $450 to $500 for 1,000 rounds.
Oh my God.
And my wife went to a gold and silver place in Montana. She said, hey, I found there was 2,000 rounds of 9mm. They're $450. Well, mind you, I saw them for $500 and $600 about that time. But the problem is you just can't find them. That was the difference. And it was hard to find them. And I've always made this joke, because like I don't invest in silver and gold, wink, wink, and I invest in lead. Lead's worth more than gold and silver. Why? Because number one, if you don't have food and water, unfortunately, if you want to be that guy, I can have your food and water. And if you want gold and silver, well, I might take your gold and silver with my lead. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there's more leverage. And then guess what? If you don't want to do that, I have a handful of bullets unshot, to barter with somebody that can maybe help them hunt and get food. I'm not trying to say it's all about killing and murdering people or taking their stuff, but it's something to consider. And so my wife's mom asked the gold and silver person there, like, and asked them, so what's more valuable, gold and silver or ammo? He goes, well, you can make ammo out of gold and silver. That's your answer. It's ammo. So,
yeah.
But,
but that's a practical thing even today without being in a war-torn country. I still think it's important to have a level of protection for yourself and your family.
And you could go extreme like me and get a bunch of other things to help protect yourself.
Yeah, but you like, cool guns and stuff. Yeah. It's not, and you don't even necessarily shoot them. It's like a car collector.
Don't make me cry. I don't even get to shoot them much, and it is a sad deal for me. I hate it. Yeah. But it depends on your situation and where you're at. I am even a person that'll tell you, go get some bulletproof stuff. Yeah. If you don't want a vest, they have these shields that you could kind of hide behind or carry around that can protect you from some things in a situation. So, my deal I will say this with guns is I was in a situation when I was younger, and I was pent up in our apartment. We couldn't leave, and there was a shootout with this neighbor that went suicidal and crazy, was shooting at the cops. The cops were shooting at them all night, and we were not allowed to leave her home. And I felt so vulnerable. Mm-hmm. What am I going to do? What do they do if they come to what do I do? Yeah. So, and
bullets do go through walls, by the way.
A lot of walls.
Yep.
And especially that gentleman, he had 30-06, so that would have gone through lots of walls. Mm-hmm. And so, that's what intrigued me. It went from, hey, I want something to protect myself, and then I like that, and the next thing you know, I just really like them. Mm-hmm. And it's also fun to shoot.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the means to do that, I think so. I mean, and the other piece is, I think it's important for people to learn about this stuff. Because even if you're not a current gun owner, to go out and go to a gun range and learn how to use it and be comfortable around it, that way you're not freaking out when you see a weapon or are presented with a weapon.
Thank you.
Yes. Because I wonder about the Ukrainians. I don't know what their laws are with carrying a weapon, but if the government's handing out weapons to the population, do they even know how to use them, effectively?
I know that Russia, they teach their kids in class how to use the AKs and tear them down and do them fast and quickly and be efficient at it. Yeah. But to your point, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's right. Because if you at least need to know how to use them and not be scared of them. And just like I would recommend people knowing how to drive a stick shift. Mm-hmm. You may not have one, but it might be a good in an emergency case to be able to get in the rig and go, great, this is my only out, and I don't even know how to get it out of here.
Yeah. What's that third pedal down there?
That's the oh shit brake.
Yeah.
But those, there's a ton of other things that to be prepared for. But man, those really are the key: fire, water, food, shelter, and have something to defend yourself.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine if we had an EMP and it knocked out pretty much all electronics?
That would be beautiful.
I mean, it would be a pretty significant impact. I know certain like old vehicles, you'd still be able to drive those around. I wouldn't be able to drive my vehicle.
No,
it's not going to protect. It's not protected from an EMP, and there's no. There's no engine. So
well, I gotta tell you. So this is because I'm the what if guy, right? Mm-hmm. And they sell stuff for suckers like me. Mm-hmm. So they have, and I haven't looked into it enough, but they have these things that you could buy. It's like for $500, and I think you could have enough to put on your house and on 2 cars, and it'll protect
shielding
devices from EMPs. I'm like, ooh, come on. Are we ever going to have that happen? I'll tell you what, a couple years ago, I was worried.
Mm-hmm. Some things are protected just in the how they're shielded and grounded. But I'm not sure what all would survive, because in some cases, like, as an example, I mean, just a car, like, I have an older model Tesla, and there are different computer components that are in charge of certain aspects. It's not just one computer controlling everything. It's a bunch of different things. Sure. And but if you lose one of those things, how does that impact the rest of it? Does it eliminate the rest of its functionality?
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
Just like your body, you have all those organs. If you lose your heart,
yeah, there are some key components. Yeah, but if you lose a limb, brain. You might be okay. But yeah, I mean, in the world of an EMP, what would be impacted? I mean, would our electrical grid be impacted? I don't know. I mean,
are you kidding me? How do you think that's up? Everything's on the computer and
controlled at least.
Yep. So you're going to instantly not be able to heat your home. That's why it's good to have some propane on the side. And what else? What else was it? And because you can't heat your home, you're going to lose your how to cool your food and that kind of. I mean, it affects us in a huge way. We had fires a couple years ago that we were kind of talking about a little bit, and they shut down our power for a week.
Yeah,
and so I got years ago. I bought a really nice gas mask. My wife's like, "That's kind of ridiculous," and I bought like these gas canisters, that are good for nuclear war and shit. And I know, and so at the time, my wife just thinks I'm funny, but it was so smoky that I couldn't see the end of my
your driveway,
my fence, and I would have to, and I'd go out and walk around because I was concerned about people starting fires. And me being outside for 5 minutes, my clothes would reek.
Yeah.
It was so bad. And so they shut down our power. And we're like, oh my gosh, on purpose, because they were trying to help out. And
in air quotes.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We have a bunch of food. We have this and that. And well, I actually my wife actually was like, oh my gosh, that's right. You bought that propane stove. Oh, great. So I made a spaghetti, and I have, that little generator, because I wanted a nice generator, but I bought this little one. Listen, I need a little generator. So we got to tape off everything in our garage, and I watched a movie in it with, and we got to do that for a couple of days. That's all we had.
Yeah.
And so after it all, we got to, and like I said, the gas mask, got to put them on, and I could go outside and breathe and do all this stuff. It was great. And then after that, my wife's like, we should go get one of those big generators you're talking about. That was a great idea. I mean, she's like on board. Like, you never know you're going to need it.
Yeah.
But thank God we had something. And I really wish we had more, because then we could have saved some of the food, or, because in the freezer or the fridge, so. I
remember that I had forgotten about the electricity. They were shutting down electricity because they had this fear that the grid was getting in danger of falling over and creating more fires and overcapacity and all these other different things to create more problems. And so they shut it down. And of course, that left a whole section of the population totally vulnerable.
Right.
Not only was the smoke, and you're right, it was terribly thick. You were in a different zone than I was. In this particular area that we live in, they had different evacuation alert levels.
People had to flee their homes close by.
Yeah, and you were at that edge of being, you had to be packed and ready to leave.
Yeah.
And I was in one stage different, so we didn't have to be, but we were on alert. And but I remember it being so smoky. We still had COVID going on, so we had masks and stuff, and I would soak my mask in water and go do stuff outside, because that actually helped filter a little bit more of the air. But still, you come back in the house, and not only does your house smell like smoke, but all of your clothes smell like smoke constantly. And I don't know how long, we were dealing with that, but it was, I'd never, in my 40 plus years, I'd never experienced anything
You're
like
right.
that.
And during that, because we were talking about what are you going to do in situations and stuff. And I had to decide some things, and I had to figure out and put plans in store. Yeah. And during this, I'm going to say 15, 20 miles away, we had friends living up in Estacada, and they were evacuated. Well, they had to go back because they had people that were starting fires, looting.
Yeah, that's right.
And people were going around shooting up the place, and they had to go protect their own property. And I had to make a plan and a decision with my wife, and she didn't like it. that you're going to get the hell out of here. I'm going to stay here and keep this the best I can.
Yeah.
We will meet up. I'm not going to just come here and like go down with the ship, but I can make a difference by hanging out. I have the equipment to keep myself safe outside.
But that was some of the problems, though, is that people were being forced to evacuate, and then other people, criminals, knew what zones were clear.
Yep.
So they'd go in and loot.
Yep.
They'd go steal your stuff, and you come back and things would be missing, and
these are the people that if real shit hit the fan, because that was bad. But I'm saying an invader comes in, and everybody heads for the hills. You're going to have to share the world with those people too. Mm-hmm. And you can't take everything from your home. So if you could stick it out at your home, I recommend make that your haven. And for people that aren't as prepared, make sure that you have a good communication with them so that they could come and help you and be with you and combine resources. But friends are not in a situation. You should not be there just to sit there and, I'm not trying to be a jerk, to take everybody in and protect everybody, because you need to make sure that what you have put in store for your wife and your kids, your family, that you're not going to minimalize. Is that the word? You're not going to take their year of food down to a month because you brought in people that are not willing to prepare themselves today. Yeah. There's some give and take on some of that. So I'm not trying to say that there's people I love and care and I would help them, but those people that come to help and they go, I'm bringing my mom and my sister and my dad, and I'm like, whoa, oh, okay, well, tell me what she look like. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm like, seriously, what are you going to add to your situation? It's just like if you own the boat, and the boat could hold 12. Well, we could hold 16 really, and still not sink. But 20 are sinking. Are you going to really try to put those 20 in there? 20, then when does it stop? You have to be able to say, time out. What can you do for us as a whole? Because you could end up sinking yourself. And then too many people that are telling you what you should or shouldn't do is rough too. Yeah.
Side note, we are not experts in this particular area.
What?
But I mean, I'm fascinated by it. I watch a lot of stuff. I spent a lot of time as a kid doing survival stuff out in my grandparents' property, which was like 14 acres of forest land up against national forest land. So
a lot of fun out there.
It's so much fun. But there are certain things that people don't even think about these days, and I think these are important. Even if we don't ever experience it, I still think it's important to understand some of this stuff, and of course have somewhat of a backup plan. Have some food storage, some way of filtering water.
Yeah, I agree with you. We are definitely not experts, but that's why I'm trying to plan the best I can. And here's another good thing: they have these books about survival books, tell you like what kind of things you could eat out in the
plants
wood.
And stuff.
And guess what? For people that don't know how to hunt, they actually have ways to tell you how to dress to kill and clean out animals. Because a lot of people don't know how to do that. Hunters, that's a big plus on their side.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because you might have an animal and end up just destroying it and only getting 5% out of it when you could be getting a lot more.
Or getting yourself sick because you did the wrong thing.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. But we do try, and we do recommend that at least attempt to do some things. Do it easy. There's easy ways to do it, and there's 1,000 different ways to do it. But
think about it, YouTube may not be available if the shit hits the fan.
Yeah, you can't Google how to get the hell out.
That's right. All right, let's wrap it up. What do you say?
If you're talking about the show?
Yeah, just the show.
All right. Sorry.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you're catching us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and put some comments. It'd be interesting to see what other people's ideas are about survival and the likelihood of us.
Tell us what's important to you guys.
Yeah. So you can find more information on our website.
NeverTooSerious.com.
And until we see you next time, take care.
And be safe.